Ponyfans.com here with assistant head coach and quarterbacks coach Dan Morrison. And Coach, you and June Jones have talked a lot about how the team, specifically Kyle Padron, benefited from the extra practices last year prior to the Hawaii Bowl. Other than simply additional reps, how did that time benefit him and then benefit the offense going into that game?
Well, I think the 15 days that you are working at it carried over from where he was growing to, so he didn't have to stop and start over again like 4 months later. And it's anytime you get that extra practice, any coach will tell you across the country that is beneficial to your program. And what it amounts to is the equivalent of having 2 spring practices, and that's the advantage. And it was a really good time for him to keep going because he'd only played half the season, and that's where he really grew, is in that last 15 days going into Hawaii.
Having had that and now having had another full season under his belt, could you see him making a similar kind of jump during this period between now and the Armed Forces Bowl?
It's hard to say if he'll make the exact same jump, but it's always beneficial for his eyes, for the timing, getting the ball out on time, his seeing things. I think this is it's a great team to play against. They're really well coached and they're really good, so he really has to be on his stick as far as knowing what's happening. So I think it's all beneficial to him, to his growth as he goes into his last 2 years.
This is the only game this year where you get a full 2 weeks of practice prior to the game. The game is 2 weeks from today. When you and the other coaches sit down and put together your game plan, do you expand the game plan and add more wrinkles to it, or do you simply take that extra week to really perfect what you would normally put into a game plan?
Yeah, I think that's the latter is probably what we're going to do. You don't want to start throwing too many things into the offense at this point in time. You really want to get much better, cleaner with what you do, and that's the benefit of this time period, is that you can keep getting clean up the offense, clean up the routes, clean up the reads, the decisions he makes, so that as you get into that game, he's so much further along than he would have been 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, the team's had a little time off since the Conference USA Championship game. Where are you in the process of digesting all the Army film and writing up a game plan?
Well, some of us have been out on the road recruiting, so we're just getting back into it now. Coach has been here, and he's actually been going through it at great length. So we're catching up with him right now. We were in for a couple hours this morning before practice, and we'll be in this evening and tomorrow. And so we'll start catching up in the next few days where he is. And it's interesting watching them. It's as I say, we know Coach Ellerson. He's a great coach, and he does a great job with this defense.
Is it a benefit to coach against a team that is coached by someone that you know so well? Do you have to resist the urge to fall back on what they've done in the past as opposed to what you see on their current team?
Well, you always have to speculate that with everybody. Everybody you play, you try to. It's not as much the person as what they're doing, and then try to make the judgment that these are the kind of things they will do against us. These are the kind of things they may not. They can expand into this that we haven't seen yet. So yeah, there's always that chess match that occurs, but that's usually before every game. I think Coach Ellerson go back a long, long way, and I knew him in Hawaii when I was a high school coach, and he was coaching at the University of Hawaii. So he's been around a long time, and he's very good at what he does. So we're very respectful of what they are and their players, and we just got to take care of ourselves at this point.
Kyle Padron got his ankle banged up a couple of games ago against Marshall. It was very tender toward the end of that game. How much did that affect his ability to plant and get the accuracy and velocity he needed against Central Florida in the championship game, and how's his ankle now?
His ankle's improving a great deal. I think the time off was really good for him. He's probably always going to have it for a little while, but he's a very tough kid. He played through the game actually with East Carolina. This is when he really tweaked it, and that's that one showed how tough he was, because he was really gimping around and he just kept staying in there, and he wasn't going to come out of that game. So it's always hard to tell sometimes, because the adrenaline gets going, and as I watched him in Central Florida, he was pushing off really well. So I don't think it affected him a great deal. I think it's more that he feels it during the week, but come game time, it's something he doesn't even think about. So he's improved a great deal. This has been a wonderful rest for him. So he'll be 100% come to this game.
Last year, coming down the stretch of the season, there was so much talk about breaking the streak and getting back to a bowl game for the first time in 2.5 decades. And even when the team got off the plane in Honolulu, they're getting off the plane, they've got video cameras, they're excited to be there. now you're back for the second year in a row in a bowl game. Have you sensed a different feel with the team as you get ready for practice, in the film room, in meetings? Is it more business-like, or is there a different vibe around the team now?
Well, it's interesting. That's the developing maturity of the program. Is that they probably would have liked to go to Hawaii. That's who wouldn't. But I think they've looked at this game and this situation. They've embraced it. Their practices have been real lively. They're all excited to get going. I think they're also excited that school's done. So between that and the bowl game coming up, the practice day was really crisp. And again, they're young, but they're starting to mature into the understanding that we're going to be in bowl games and we're going to post 8, 9, 10 wins in a season, and that's the direction we're going to go in, and that's the expectation. So they're growing into those expectations.
The other day at the press conference, June Jones said that Army's defense is really unique in the way they attack an offense. What's unique about them? What do they do that's unusual?
Well, it's kind of in their front, and they do something. They put people in unique places, and they're very difficult against the run. That's what they're designed to stop. But they're also, the young men playing that position are very relentless. They're not the biggest guys in the world, but boy, they relentless, quick, and they get after you, and they never ever quit. So between those two variables, they're always tough to deal with. But he's unique. He comes out of that Desert Storm background, and he's kind of evolved it since then. And we don't see kind of what we're going to see in this particular bowl game. So you have to get ready for it. But that's part of the game. You're going to play somebody on the back end is going to be real unique too. So that you just have to prepare for those things, try to understand what they're thinking. But as I say, he's done it a long time. He's very good at it. So.